Hi, I'm Rose Velasco, and this is a new series that I am doing called Spiritual Storytime with Rose. And the reason why I'm calling it Spiritual Storytime because over the last, I don't know how many years, probably back to 2014, I've been on this journey, this spiritual journey of seeking what resonates with me, from gathering from different sources and sort of formulating my own personal spiritual journey and beliefs. So a lot of the stuff that I read from will be stuff from yoga books. It'll be stuff from other school books that I had when I was going to Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, and books that I've gotten since then, like A Return to Love and a few others around mindset and everything. So the goal of this is to eventually be having this as sort of a makeshift vodcast where I invite people in with me and I read portions out of books and we discuss how it resonates with us and how our interpretation is of the portions of the book that are discussed. So I'm mostly doing this for myself, but I really want to be able to share my journey and also hear about other people's journey, spiritual journeys. So today we're going to start this first one off with, this is a book that I got when I was in yoga teacher training, Myth of the Asanas. And it inspired me to teach storytime yoga, and which I had done a few times. And not as we're going through more flow asanas, but as we're sitting in restful restorative poses or yin poses and reading out of the books while sitting in the poses. So an asana is the perfect pose or the perfect seat. An asana is the posture, and perfect isn't what you see on Instagram or magazine photos. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's what your perfect posture is. So don't be intimidated by the interpretation of it being perfect, because what is perfect? We all have our own interpretation of perfect. So, and everybody's perfect looks different. And perfect isn't necessary. Done is better than perfect. And so I'm doing the thing. So here I am. I'm going to share a little story about Hanuman. So this is the 3 poses that are grouped together to sort of embody the story of Hanuman, which is the fearless monkey. So we'll go ahead and get started. Hanuman, Anjaneyasana, and Virasana. The monkey pose, low lunge pose, and hero pose are the 3 poses that are embodying the story of Hanuman. These 3 poses are grouped together because they all illustrate the story of the beloved monkey god Hanuman. Hanumanasana, the pose that bears his name, is a full split facing forward. Anjaneyasana is a deep kneeling lunge, and Virasana is a seated pose designed to stretch the thighs and create healthy knee joints. And you'll understand as I get into the story why these are the 3 poses. And no, this is not sponsored by LaCroix Limoncello. It's just my favorite. Maybe it should be, huh? Okay. All 3 poses stretch the psoas muscle, which runs from the middle of the spine to the inner thigh. This muscle gets a particularly intense stretch in Virasana when one reclines. This very deep core muscle initiates all of our movements, and it is pivotal in the fight or flight response that is built into our bodies. So often I like to use bring poses into a yoga class for working with the psoas because of that exact reason of it being the fight or flight muscle. And so many of us on this planet are living in a state of chronic stress, and it really affects the psoas. It's also the muscle that holds a lot of trauma. So working with that helps us to release trauma. Like you might imagine a gazelle being chased by a lion, and it's in that flight mode, okay? And once it outruns the lion and it feels that it's safe in a safe space, it will go find somewhere under a tree in the shade or wherever, under a bush, and shake all of that stress out. Where we as humans don't generally do that on a daily basis. Some people may. I'm not saying nobody does, but some people may. And so bringing that into your yoga practice, working with the psoas muscle, is going to be beneficial for your overall health, your mental health, your energetic health. All right, so this is why I want to bring more people in and have discussions about the messages that we're getting from stuff that we read out of books. Where was I? Okay, for many people, the fight or flight response is almost continuously stimulated by a low-grade application of stress, sort of what I was just saying, which is so much a part of Western lifestyles and results in a chronically locked psoas. The effects of stress are augmented by our daily habit of sitting for long periods of time on chairs, which also shortens and tightens this long rope-like muscle. Because of its relation to the fight or flight response, which typically engages when we are fearful, the psoas is where we generally hide fear. The process of opening the psoas and encouraging its release through these three related poses gives us an opportunity to physically shed our fears and move into a state of fearlessness. And that state is exactly what Hanuman embodies. So, the fearless monkey. Anjana was a beautiful woman who deeply desired to become a mother. So she prayed daily for the miracle of a child. The wind god Vayu admired Anjana very much, and when he heard her prayer, he decided to help her out. He blessed a few grains of rice and sent them with his bird friends, who were flying her away. Anjana was upward in and also, I'm sorry if I butcher any of the words that I ever say in any of these videos. This is my disclaimer right now. Okay. Anjana was engaged in her daily prayer ritual. She had her arms stretched upward in Anjali Mudra, ready to receive the grace of God, when she received a few grains of rice instead. She knew better than to question what came to her through prayer, so she opened her mouth and tossed the rice in. Upon her consumption of the blessed rice, she became pregnant. When her baby, Anjaneya, which meant son of Anjana, was born, he was quite a precocious youngster. He was half mortal and half divine, since Vayu was his father. His demigod status is what often led him into big trouble. One morning, Anjaneya woke up and saw what he thought was a giant mango floating in the sky. Since mangoes were his favorite treat, he immediately leapt up into the sky and rushed towards the fruit, not realizing it was actually the sun. When the sun god Surya saw this little troublemaker racing to take a big bite out of him, he threw a lightning bolt, which hit the boy in the jaw, killing him instantly and sending him tumbling to the ground. When Vayu learned what Surya had done, his great fury made him take a deep breath. It was so deep that he sucked up all the air from the earth, and all the beings began to suffocate. The gods called an emergency meeting to try and placate both Vayu and Surya and restore order. Vayu refused to exhale until he got his son Anjaneya back. But Surya didn't want this potentially dangerous child running around unrestrained. Finally, an agreement was reached. Anjaneya would be renamed Hanuman, which referred to the broken jaw he received from the lightning bolt. Hanu means jaw in Sanskrit. He would be revived, but cursed with short-term memory so that he would never recall his godliness long enough to cause any real harm. If he believed himself to be just mortal, what damage could he possibly do? And finally, he would be removed from his mother's care so that he could start a new life. The trusted monkey king, Sugriva, agreed to take Hanuman under his wing, and the little boy took the shape of a monkey to better match his new family. So we're up to the point where this demigod wanted to eat the son thinking he was a mango. His dad got really mad and sucked up all the air off of the earth, suffocating the humans, or the beings, I should say. And an agreement was made, and now he is back with his new guardian, the trusted monkey king Sugriva. And now we're at a monkey's best friend. Hanuman grew to be an invaluable asset to the proud warriors of the monkey clan. One day, as he was wandering through the forest, he met King Ram. The connection between the two was instantaneous. Hanuman immediately swore to never leave Ram's side, and Ram trusted him implicitly. The two were inseparable, as close as peas in a pod. Ram had a wife named Sita, who was known for her beauty and heavenly qualities. It wasn't long before the evil demon Ravana grew uncontrollably jealous of the couple. His envy blinded his good judgment, and he went to war to take over Ram's kingdom and kidnap Sita for himself, taking her to his island kingdom of Lanka. Ram had to lead his troops into battle to protect his land, so he couldn't save the lovely Sita. In his place, he sent his good friend Hanuman to rescue her. And the pictures are little hand-drawn pictures, so there's more reading than pictures. If I ever run across a book that has photos, I'll share them with you. Hanuman took off for the tip of the subcontinent with no idea how he would accomplish his task, but he knew he must do it. His sheer love for his best friend helped him overcome any doubts he had about his own abilities. When Hanuman reached the coast and looked out over the great vast ocean toward the island of Lanka, he knelt down in prayer. The pose he knelt in, with one knee up and one knee folded under, inspired the original Virasana. He closed his eyes and prayed to be filled with the grace it would take to do the impossible. During his prayer, his unwavering faith never faltered. When he felt as if he had summoned enough energy, he pressed his feet firmly into the ground with such force that it caused a shock wave to ripple through the land, flattening the trees and hills behind him. He was propelled into the air and soared toward Lanka over the open sea. So this is the pose that they were just talking about, inspired Virasana, which is 2 legs underneath. All right, the faithful hero. It is important to remember that when Hanuman knelt down to pray for the grace to accomplish the impossible, he was already capable of achieving his goal. As the son of the wind, Hanuman could do anything. He could grow very large or very small, move mountains, and even change his shape altogether, but he was constantly forgetting his divinity. And so he turned to his faith, which in Sanskrit is called Shraddha, to give him the confidence to do what he knew he must accomplish. Many of us shrink before impossible tasks, or even tasks that are just a bit hard, because we are just like Hanuman. We easily forget that there is a part of us that is also divine and can accomplish the impossible. Wow. This message coming through to me right now is really kind of resonating with the time in my life right now with some things. So this is why I love reading, and as opposed to scrolling and stuff like that. Okay, I'm glad I'm sharing this with you. Okay, we easily forget that there is a part of us that is also divine and can accomplish the impossible. And we forget about the element of Shraddha, faith, which is ingrained in every human heart, just as it was within Hanuman's heart. Throughout human history, there's always been some form of prayer to give human beings the space and time to grow that element of faith within their hearts. It is with faith and hope that we can go forth with confidence and leap across oceans, change the world, or simply fall back in love. Soaring to new heights. As he flew over the ocean towards his destiny, one of Hanuman's feet reached forward and one foot reached back, like the famous split pose Hanumanasana that yogis know today. Despite encountering numerous obstacles, including a demon that rose from the water to try and gobble him up, Hanuman landed confidently on the island of Alanka. He searched until he discovered Sita in the gardens of Ravana's palace and transformed himself into a cat in order to sneak in and let her know that Ram would be coming to save her. She gave him her hairpin to let Ram know that he'd found her, and Hanuman gave Sita Ram's ring as a promise of her future rescue. And rescue her they did. Eventually, Ram brought the war to Ravana's doorstep, and with Hanuman's help, Ravana was defeated and Sita was saved. When balance and peace were restored to the land, Ram held a great gathering back at his palace and asked Hanuman to be his guest of honor. Hanuman was called up to be awarded, and Ram presented him with his very own precious and gem-encrusted gold bracelet. The audience gasped in awe and pride at this divine engagement, but Hanuman gazed curiously at the bangle. He knocked on it and chewed it with his teeth. When some gems popped off, he used them to try and peer more closely at the gold, but looked dissatisfied at what he didn't find. Ram, Sita, and the onlookers were shocked at Hanuman's seeming ungratefulness. Ram asked Hanuman why he was so unhappy with his gift. Hanuman looked at Ram and explained, Ram, every moment I chant your name. I chant your name so I can constantly remember how much I love you. I chant your name so much that even the fibers of my heart have your name written upon them. This bracelet is worth nothing to me if it does not bear your name. Here, let me show you. It was then that Hanuman knelt down in front of Ram and Sita, dug his fingers into his chest, and opened it up to reveal the contents of his heart. Inside were Ram and Sita, perfect and complete. And on every fiber of Hanuman's heart was written Ram's name. With each thump-thump, the chant Ram Ram quietly sounded. The constant one. Hanuman's journey. Oh, okay, let me show you. That was him with his leg forward and backward as he was leaping over the ocean. And so that's where Hanumanasana, the splits pose, comes from. Okay, the constant one. Hanuman's journey, as recounted in the Ramayana, the epic tale of Ram, is one of faith, fearlessness, and complete devotion. Hanuman is said to embody all of the qualities of the yogi, and his story reflects our own in many ways. How many times have we forgotten our own divinity only to fall back into the same self-defeating way of thinking over and over? Who hasn't had a crisis of faith and wondered if some burden wasn't too great to bear, or whether some task wasn't impossible to complete? Hanuman teaches us that there is one thing that allows us to override all of our doubts and fears. That one thing is love. The tradition of Bhakti Yoga is focused on cultivating this attitude so perfectly that all our fears and doubts fall away, and we are left only with the remembrance of our true self. The tool of the Bhakti Yoga is the repetition of a mantra or a short phrase, which focuses one's attention on an object of devotion. For Hanuman, the object of devotion was Ram, so he chanted his name repeatedly. His poor memory meant that he would often forget his tasks or associations, but he always remembered his best friend. And so he began and ended every sentence with Ram's name. Every spare moment he had, he chanted it. Eventually, every fiber of his being pulsed with Ram's name, and that perfect attention caused his soul to merge with the object of his devotion to embody love itself, which is why Ram and Sita reside inside of his heart. Many yoga practitioners are discovering the power of chant to call up deep and joyful emotions. Whether simply listening to chant music or participating in kirtans, call and response style, it is easy for practitioners to feel the effects of that simple repetition. These exercises are related to the deeper experience of mantra recitation, which many yogis use during their meditation. Mantras can be repeated out loud, sung as a part of a song, or repeated silently to oneself. They are designed to liberate us from the fear and illusion that keep us small, allowing us to manifest our fully realized potential. The word mantra is derived from manas, mind, and trava, liberate, meaning that which liberates the mind. The key factor to success in yoga is the consistency of repetition. When the practice is constant, the coming is inevitable. And what comes, as Hanuman found, is the undeniable presence of complete compassion and the melting of fear. The hero inside. Each of Hanuman's poses embodies the fearlessness, bravery, strength, friendship, and compassion that he so clearly expressed through each of his adventures. Veera, the root word of Virasana, is Sanskrit for hero. One way to embody that word is to be full of faith. It is said that the difference between the hero and the coward is that the hero acts. When fear stops most, the hero, filled with faith, pursues the seemingly impossible, knowing that it is the only way to soar to new heights. Fear can keep us small or challenge us to rise above our meekness. The poet Andrea Gibson writes, "I don't believe in miracles because miracles are the impossible coming true and everything is possible." It is this kind of possibility that infuses each of the poses dedicated to Hanuman. Each addresses in some way our power to overcome fear and gives us an opportunity to create space for the impossibilities in our lives. I love that story so much. It's been a long time since I've read it. But I was looking at my huge bookshelf that looks like it could be the inside of a metaphysical bookstore. I'm grateful for it because I've been a seeker of knowledge. I've been a life learner for many, many years in my adulthood. And once I wasn't forced to learn, I realized I really loved to learn. So anyways, that is sort of like the things that you're going to encounter here on this video series, and which I hope turns into a blog series or even just a vlog out there where I can bring other people in and even have them share excerpts from books that have really helped to change their life as well. So, well, thanks so much for spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. I hope that you learned a lot about those poses, and I hope that it gave you a new view on yoga. Yoga not as an exercise, but yoga as a spiritual practice that we can carry the knowledge that we learn from the teachings of this ancient practice into our daily lives. Because the same thing that we're experiencing today, they've been experiencing for 5,000 years. They, as in people, have been experiencing the same struggles. That struggle between the heart and the mind, the ego and the id, the spirit, and the physical manifestation. So, anyways, thank you for joining me. Again, my name is Rose, and please like and subscribe to my channel, and I love you even more for it. Thank you. Bye. Namaste. Oh wait, not bye. Tao Porchin Lynch. I had the fortune of being able to meet and talk with her and listen to one of her discussions one time when she was, I think she was 100 at the time, and 100-year-old yoga teacher. And she has since passed, rest in peace, Tao Porchin Lynch. Amazing, amazing woman. If you don't know who she is, it's spelled Tao hyphen Porchon, Tao Porchin hyphen Lynch, Lynch. So if you can look her up, she's an amazing, the history of this woman is amazing. She's told me it's never goodbye, it's au revoir until we meet again. So au revoir and namaste. The light within me sees and honors the beautiful light within you. And Jai Bhagwan, victory to your spirit.